What kind of rifle would you need to kill the dragon on the Game of Thrones TV show? Well, let's find out, because I'm pretty sure it can be done. Howdy folks, you're watching DEUCE. I had a question from a longtime viewer, Tex Patriot, who basically asked me, what kind of gun would I use to kill a dragon on Game of Thrones? Well, that really interested me because, I have a math background, so I got to grab out my good old TI-85 here, and we're going to crunch the numbers and see what kind of rifle you would need to kill the dragon. Oh, spoiler alert, if you've not seen the series finale of the Game of Thrones TV show, go ahead and stop this now, go watch that, and then come back later to watch this video, because we will be talking about spoilers and things that happen on the second to last show and the last episode. So spoilers starting right now. In order to figure out how powerful of a cartridge we need to kill a dragon, we've got to figure out the foot-pounds of energy produced by those big ballistas, because they had those huge ballistas they were using that were proven dragon killers. So we got to figure out, number one, how heavy the ballista bolt weighed, and we've got to figure out how fast that ballista could shoot those at the dragon. So first of all, we've got to figure out the volume, figure out the weight. So now I didn't do all this on my own. There was a guy on the internet that really crunched all the numbers and did a lot of the, not the math, but he did a lot of the research with editing and stuff, and could freeze frame it and blow it up and really get some numbers down as far as measurements goes. So we kind of estimated that the average sailor on a Game of Thrones was about 5'10", 5'11", and the ballista bolts were somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 times their height. So that gave us a, see, I got everything in inches here written down. 196.8 inches long for the shaft. Shaft. Basically, we're trying to figure out the volume of a cylinder. The formula is volume equals pi times the radius squared times height. So we're trying to get, we got the height, which is 196-ish inches, and we've got to get the diameter. And diameter, we basically just guesstimated about 1.5 inches, because you can see people loading them in there. You see their hands wrapped around it. It's okay, that's about 1.5 inches in diameter. Then we got the volume, multiply that by the average density of hardwood, and we came out with 10.3 pounds for the weight of the wooden shaft on the ballista bolt. And we did the same calculations to figure out the steel broadhead on there, and that came out to be 1.8 pounds. So in the end, we have a 12.1 pound ballista bolt. It looks heavier than that. When they're hauling them around, they look much heavier than that. But I've got a theory on that, which we'll get to later on. Now we've got to calculate the speed of that ballista bolt. Well, there is a really good scene where the ballista bolt flies past one of the dragons, almost the entire length of the dragon. So you can calculate, if you count out the frames, how many frames of the TV show it takes for that ballista to go all the way across the dragon. Then you can calculate the speed. The problem is, we don't know how long that dragon is. But we do know how tall Emilia Clarke is. That's the actress that plays the Mother Dragon's Daenerys. So we know she is 5'2". And if you cut her out and you line her up across the dragon, use her as a measurement guide, you figure out that the dragon is about 16.5 Emilia Clarkes. So that equals about 85, a shade over 85 feet in length. So you do all that math and you come out with 400 feet per second for that ballista bolt. 12.1 pounds going 400 feet per second. That is going to be 30,087 foot-pounds of energy. 30,000 foot-pounds of energy. That's up there. That is up there. That's not like battleship gun high, but it is above most rifle calibers. Now, the major problem with this whole thing is the fact that imparting that kind of energy out on the ballista bolt would probably shatter the wooden shaft. That's just too much energy, and it would just explode right there. Google that sometime, exploding arrows. You'll see where people will draw their bow and the arrow will just shatter and just send carbon fiber into their arm. It's awful looking. So that is an issue that would probably happen here, more than likely, because that's a lot of energy going into a heavy bolt. So how would you fix that? Well, you could hollow out the inside of that shaft, inside of that wooden shaft. You could hollow that out and then put a steel brace, basically a strengthening bar, inside that, which would add more weight and add the strength it needs. So in this scenario, I decided to bore out a 1/2 inch of the center of the wooden shaft, which drops the shaft weight down to 6.8 pounds. I then went on the internet and I found basically a weight guide for sizes of steel rods. So a 1/2 inch steel rod, 16.4 feet, came out to be right around 11 pounds. So 6.8 plus 11 equals 17.8 pounds. So now we have a ballista bolt that weighs 17.8 pounds, still going 400 feet per second, which brings up the energy to 44,259 foot-pounds. Now that is a lot of energy. That is a lot of energy. Is there a rifle that makes that much? Let's find out. Firstly, let's take a look at the options I actually own. Well, I've got a 12 gauge shotgun and you can put a slug in there. You can get a 3.5 inch slug that shoots a slug that weighs over an ounce. 1 3/8 ounce, I think, is one of the bigger options. And you can get those that shoot at 1890 feet per second, which produces 4,750 foot-pounds of energy. That's a lot. That's a lot. But we're looking for something 10 times stronger than that. Now, 3 in a Win Mag, developed back in the 60s, and it will shoot a 200 grain round at just over 3,000 feet per second, making a little over 4,000 foot-pounds of energy. So we're going down. The slug is still more powerful than that. Okay, well, I also shoot a 4570 government round here. That's actually a 4570 right there behind me. Now, these were developed back in the 1800s, late 1800s. And back then, they were very weak loadings. I mean, they were black powder. Of course, they were weak. But over time, they did increase the pressure, the capabilities of this cartridge by using stronger actions, stronger rifles. The strongest one you can find, that I could find on the internet, was still only a shade under 3,500 foot-pounds of energy. It's plain to see we're going to have to get into the big bore type rifles to get anywhere close to the 40,000 plus foot-pounds of energy. So we're going to jump straight to the top of that list and look at the 700 Nitro. 700 Nitro Express. It's a 1,000 grain bullet traveling at about 2,000 feet per second. And that's going to make 8,900 foot-pounds of energy. We're getting closer, but still not there. All right, so let's back down the diameter of the bullet and make it go faster. So we're going to do the 5.77 Tyrannosaurus Rex cartridge, which is a big old boy. It's a beast. And that's usually a 750 grain round going 2480. And that produces a little over 10,000 foot-pounds of energy. We're getting closer, but we're not even halfway there for the magical lightweight version of the ballista bolt. The next cartridge is actually the first cartridge I thought of, and it should have been the first cartridge you guys thought of as well. The 50 BMG 12.7 by 99 millimeter NATO. Now there's a whole variance of what's available for the 50 BMG. So what I did was found the largest or strongest commercially produced 50 BMG I could find. And that is the 800 grain bullet by Barnes that travels 2,895 feet per second, producing 14,885 foot-pounds of energy. All right, so we are halfway there. 50 BMG is halfway to our low point, to our bare minimum to kill a dragon at 30,000 foot-pounds. So at this point, I was getting desperate. I needed to find something that got at least close to the 30,000 foot-pounds. And I found it. I went to the weird stuff, but I found it. The .950 JDJ. 950. So that's almost an inch caliber. It's huge. And what they did, it's a 24.1 millimeter, well, 24.1 by 70 millimeter cartridge. And it is produced by SSK Industries. And what they do is they take a 20 millimeter round, a 20 millimeter case, and then they take a 3,600 grain projectile, shove it in that case, and then shoot it out the barrel at 2,200 feet per second, making 38,685 foot-pounds of energy. Dragon killer. So that's it. We found it. We found our dragon killing rifle. Amazing. And it's the 950 JDJ. That will work. Unless they had to use the steel shaft ballista bolt, which in case we're close, but we're not guaranteed the kill shot. For this thought experiment, I wanted the rifle to be an actual rifle we'd recognize as a rifle. I didn't want something that was mounted on the side of a ship or mounted on wheels or anything. So no punt guns, no cannons, no artillery. I just wanted a rifle that we'd recognize as a rifle. So something you could hump out to the battlefield, shoulder, and if you had the balls, pull the trigger. So what did I find? I did find something that was very close to our 44,000 foot-pound requirement. And that is the 20 by 110 millimeter USN cartridge. The 20 millimeter cartridge was first designed for the Navy's autocannon setup. But I did look out there and find there are sniper rifles set up for that cartridge. I'm not sure what they use it for, but they are in use today by some militaries. I'm assuming they're anti-tank cartridges. That's my assumption. But they do have them out there. They are in use. So they are a shoulder-fired weapon that looks like a rifle that produces over 40,000 foot-pounds of energy. It's a 1,700 grain bullet going at 3,350 feet per second. So that calculates out at 42,355 foot-pounds of energy. We're within spitting distance of that 44,000 foot-pounds of energy requirement. That's close enough. So if you have a dragon that needs killing, then you really only have two options. Option one is a 950 JDJ. It's a little underpowered. It's underpowered a little bit, but it will probably get the job done. Shot placement will be important. Or go with a 20 millimeter rifle and you have a much better chance of landing your target into the ocean. Now, if you want to stay on Deuce and Guns channel, go ahead and click on one of these two videos right here, and that'll keep you watching away on the Deuce and Guns channel. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any kind of comments, questions, or a show ideas, leave that in the comment box for the video. And as always, you guys have a great day. See ya.